what is going on now, in my view, is politically suicidal. I mean, he inflicted it on himself. He should have listened. I mean, which governments come to power and will say that, as for us, we would choose loyalty and relationships over competence and national interest? You see, once you have the mandate to govern, let me explain this whole issue about a mandate model of representation I was talking about the other time. You see, there are so many models of representation.
Mandate model.
Yes. We have the trusteeship model, you have the resemblance model, you have the delegate model, and you have the mandate model. One is the mandate model simply is explained in terms of the fact that, see, somebody puts together a certain set of principles, a certain set of programs, and he markets these programs to a constituency or a citizenry. When the citizenry buy into that those programs, and based on that they vote for you, then we say you have the mandate of the people. The mandate dictates that you fulfill or you do the very things that you marketed to the people in the lead up to your election. So when you get the mandate of the people, number one, it's not the people who dictate how you run your government. You have the mandate. It's not the people who dictate how you constitute your government. It's not the people who dictate how the ministers you have to appoint. So you tell them that you have the mandate. All that they are requiring or all that they expect is that you deliver on the promises that you said you were going to deliver on. But you see, the other side or the critique of the mandate model of presentation is that the actions and inactions of the people you have appointed directly impact on the citizenry. And so to that extent, even though it's not the citizenry who appointed the ministers, the citizenry have the right to demand that you do something about the ministers if their actions or inactions negatively impact their life.
We are the direct victims or beneficiaries of the actions.
So the activities of these ministers affect us more than even the president. The president, he doesn't buy fuel. He's not buying, he's not going to buy watches. He's not doing the kinds of things that we are doing. And so the activities of these ministers directly impact on us. And so we have the right to make demands that they be reshuffled. Look, after being in office for some time, you see, you are able to observe, to know that, look, this particular minister, he has certain skills and competences that are not needed in this particular ministry. But these skills and competence will be needed in that ministry. You understand? See, when President Akufo-Addo was introducing free SHS, it was going to be met with some resistance. He needed somebody of the persona of Napo to be able to push it. Maybe after pushing it, he said, no, now we don't need you, now it's stabilized, so we'll move to another. So you sit down and then review the activities of the ministries or the ministers, and you know that some people would have to be changed from one ministry to the other. Some people would have to be axed. Some people have to be kicked away because they may be very incompetent. And so it is after you've allowed them to be in office for about 6 months to 1 year that you'll be able to have a fair idea of the skills and competences and those who must be reshuffled, those who must be kicked out, and those who must be promoted and all that. So when you do all these things, it gives you information about the ministers, and based on that, you are supposed to act. Okay? But it appears that then the president does not do an assessment of his ministers, or if he does, then his expectations of the ministers are very low and below standard because he ranked them as all excellent and all that. But then it means the bar has been lowered. Excellent maybe is now 30%. Then it's been too much low because I mean, some of the ministers, if you look at the activities and what they are doing, I'm talking about the ministers as a whole. Some are doing very well, but some too, you know that you have to reshuffle them so that you bring on board fresh brains and fresh minds and fresh talents. Otherwise, like I said, one day somebody may have to think about charging, going to court to charge the president for having caused financial loss to us. Why? Because he refused to make use of the limited and scarce human resource we have as a nation. See, governance of a developing country is too serious a business that we cannot afford to dissipate unnecessarily the limited human resources we have. And so if the MPP has the men, and it is true, if they didn't lie to us that they had the men, and if truly the men are there, then we want to see the men.